Hey guys, One Up Indie here, coming with a few videos about game design and how we can basically recreate a good boss fight, because what you're seeing in front of you is a good boss fight and we will recreate this one. But first of all, we need to analyze it, then gather the resources and then implement it in code. So basically what I'm gonna do, so you see the structure at the very beginning. The first video, this is the one which you're seeing right in front of you. Basically, we are going into the head of a game designer and checking out, hey, what do we actually need to do to recreate such boss fight? Because a lot of times boss fights follow a very specific formula which you see in lots of video games, and therefore you got some patterns which you can recognize and then implement them into your own games. And then we go to the second part, which is then getting the resources. So basically this could be game designer or maybe the graphics guy, which is just basically putting in the stuff into Game Maker Studio, because this is then very specific. Not everybody wants to do that in Game Maker Studio, but here, well, we're gonna do it anyway. And then the third part, we're gonna get the analysis from the game designer plus the resources which are already in there, and then we implement and do this formulate boss fight in action. So basically we just realize the vision, how we want to have this set up. So let's go into the game designer's head and let's make this video a little bit slower, because here we're gonna go through a lot of things. This will be of course a no coding video, so here this will be a little bit rambly, hopefully not too much, but you will see that a few things are kind of crucial to understand and point out, because you need, if you want to be a game designer, or if you want to be the game designer and the coder and the graphics guy in one person, you need to have an eye for specific things which seem to be natural and normal for you, but this is a thing which you need to be conscious of and then see them, and then you can translate that knowledge and create your own boss fights, because after that you will see that a lot of boss fights are basically following a very similar formula. So here what you need to understand is, in this boss fight it is scripted. So scripted just means that a lot of things are just following step by step, and the player doesn't have too much influence besides just activating additional phases of the boss. So the first thing which you see, we are having a little bubble bath. So we are introducing our boss, and then the boss is coming. So first thing, we have a screen shake. Then this dude is coming up, like he's just basically showing up. And what you're seeing here, this is a posturing thing. So he's first of all making him as small as possible to appear weak. This is a thing which you will recognize. And now he will go into the poser thing, like, yeah, I got my new sports car. As you can see, like, ooh, I'm now the big guy. And then with his arms, he's trying, if he has arms by the way, and he's trying to make himself as big as possible. Here, this is the posing thing, which you see a lot of times in movies. Let's say where an alien is coming, and then it's like doing this rah thing into the camera, where it's just showing, I am a threat, whatever, blah blah blah. And this is a formula which you see a lot of times, and here once again it is following it pretty neatly also. So we are doing the posturing, and of course the next thing, besides the posturing, and then there's a few splash effects to have kind of immersion that this is a liquid, because here we don't want to break the immersion. Our HP bar is getting popped up, which is a thing which you, if you for example play the game, it's not all the time there, it just appears for the boss. So you see that, okay, so posturing, he's coming up, and HP bar, okay, this is a boss fight, because this pattern will repeat for all the other bosses. And for example in this game, Astalon, Tears of the Earth, pretty sweet game by the way, here it will just indicate, okay, I got the HP and I'm a boss. And of course here you got doors which just are getting closed after you, for example, you entered this area. So here once again you need to activate it, and then posturing, coming up, HP bar. So we finished the first thing, and after we introduced ourselves, so here just looking at you little guy here, boom, he's just going down like, and I'm gone. Normally not a regular thing that the boss is actually disappearing into, well, his bubble bath here or whatever. And normally the boss is then ready and then he's roaming or doing his thing. But this is a little bit untypical, but I guess they want to have an establishment that this pool, the bubble bath here, is, well, something which is integral to the boss fight. By the way, it slows you, but you cannot see that. So the next thing which the guy is doing, as you can see, we got a screen shake, and after that the boss is quickly appearing to do a little stab, and this is just indicating for the player, hey, something is coming up. And here we got kind of a little bit of a buffer zone time wise to see like, okay, something is happening. The boss is indicating, hey, I'm doing something in a very short sequence, and boom, he's coming up, and then he's just what is he doing? Well, he's just, as you can see, throwing his bone. So let's repeat this a little bit because this is a little too slow. Come on, let's make this slower. And what you will see, he's coming up. I try to attack him. As you can see, nothing is happening. My shots are going out of here. So what is that? This is defining zones where you can have hits, and for example zones which are not normally bosses, you can hit them everywhere, but sometimes you have some weak spots and you need to destroy them, or there's just one spot which you can hit. And this is, for example, here the head, which is, by the way, signified through the whiteness. So here once again, if you hit this area, I guess the bone's a little bit too, but you must hit a little bit higher, and then you can actually hit him. And this is what we're gonna do. So as you can see, boom, we hit him, and then well, you got the damage pop up, and this dude was blinking. This is indicating for us, okay, this is the weak spot. And the second indicator besides the damage number and the blinking is, well, that the HP is getting reduced. And as you can see, this is the regular HP bar, and then we have a little follow up here, and this will of course go back, as you can see, and now it's gone. So here we got multiple indicators showing the player and teaching him like, hey, if you hit him in the head, there will be a damage number, he will blink, and the HP is getting reduced. So there is some progress in the boss fight. Okay, so now he's repeating the same pattern. Green shake, he's appearing very quickly, and he got me there, so boom. And as you can see, now we learned, okay, we need to jump a little bit and hit him with our spells in the skull head. And now, for example, we do a rumble a lot of times, for example, after 2/3 of the fight. Then, for example, we have a screech, or we have a longer prolonged screen shake or whatever, which is just indicating, hey, we are now in phase of the fight too. So basically we develop things, and now the boss will normally be faster, do the same stuff, or he will do additional things which will be put on top of the regular stuff which we've been doing. Because the first part, I guess, is easy peasy, just so you learn his the patterns. And now you can see we got a spiky thing which is coming up, and then it is indicating, hey, with some bubbles coming up and saying like, hey, here we start, and then boom, it goes. As you can see, this is done quite fair, so this is not too difficult to beat the boss. So this one is, by the way, the first one. You can play the demo if you like. So demos, by the way, out of this game. And now he is in phase 3, where he's just shooting his bubbles, and come on, as you can see, they wobble a lot, and this effect can be done if you like to recreate it in a program, so a sprite editor. You can do this with Juice FX, and I got a free program for you guys coming up in a few days. So here once again, thanks for the link, mate. And you can recreate it, or you can do this inside the engine, for example now in Game Maker, and then we can do this with animation curves or with my ease function, which I love to use. And now, as you can see, the boss fight is a little bit more difficult, because now we got additional obstacles which can be destroyed. As you can see here, there's a crack, once again indicating, hey, this balloon or bubble or whatever can be destroyed. But of course, it has the reddish color, which just means it can be destroyed, which is of course a little bit, for example, this reddish part can just slow you, but these parts, actually, if you jump into them, well, they will hit you. As you can see, the boss fight is almost over, but now he's getting a little bit more aggressive, screen shakes, and now he is having more parts where he's just being, well, invincible because he's just disappearing out of sight, and boom, now he's just appearing and then making, well, additional balloons. And as you can see, he's popping up faster now because now we want to gain a little bit of tension, because in the end you want to have a little bit more of a challenge, and because now this will feel more rewarding because the boss is getting harder, it's getting faster, it's getting more difficult in the end. But boom, what's happening now? Now we basically defeated the boss because his HP is gone. But what's happening? So the first thing which is happening here, we hit him. Come on. And now we got a little bit of flashing, so here a white screen. Then we go into the pose of the death. Now we followed by some explosions, which is a typical thing in well, good old video games, where every boss is exploding for some reason. So he has micro explosions everywhere around him scattered, and he is in his death pose. And what's happening is there, he's then returning back to his pool and then disappearing, and then here additionally, because this is actually the boss, this face guy, and this is just a spawn, and then boom, everything is cracking. He's like, whoa, what's happening? And then boom, everything is gone. So once again, indicating through the cracks, then the boss in the death pose coming down. Tons of screen shakes, tons of little explosions, just to indicate, hey, boss fight is over. By the way, the HP bar is gone also, and this is just saying, okay, you done well. And then of course the bubble bath is over. Alrighty, hopefully that was of interest to you. You now see that there are tons of things which are coming into place into a boss fight, which are very, very formulaic. And just a few afterthoughts. I'm just gonna run this in the background so you can see the boss fight fully again. Come on, let's make this normal. And so you see this in the regular speed, because I guess normally it runs a little bit faster. And then once again, this is a very formulaic boss fight, which is totally scripted, so it doesn't really matter what you do. The only influence is that you can hurt the boss, but he will do his actions anyway. So you cannot stun lock him, you cannot push him, you cannot change kind of the AI how it's basically handling. Besides that, you just push the boss into later stages or phases of his well, attacks, and this is the only influence basically you have. They are more, well, let's call it intelligent enemies, but these ones are very formulaic and very satisfying to play against with, because at some point maybe you struggle, but then you learn the patterns, and after you learn the patterns, this becomes a cakewalk. So here, this is a thing which a lot of 2D games do, just being very formulaic, and you have a sense that something is going on, but you don't really have any direct input on the fight. Alrighty, so what else can we say? Well, besides all the stuff which we have talked about, now it is time to see how we can get, well, our kind of resources for that. And for my patrons, I guess I will have this today finished. So if you would like to have kind of the boss fight, a project of that, I will have it tonight, hopefully finished, and then with the resources. And then of course later on in the next videos we will discuss how we get them and how we can implement this kind of stuff. Alrighty, so hopefully that was kind of interest to you, because I do a lot of programming, and programming can be kind of dry, and I thought like, hey, let's make some game design stuff. And game design stuff is, by the way, very, very rewarding also. But of course you need to understand that a lot of things seem to be very dynamic, but they are not really. They are just scripted, and it just appears to us humans that there is some intelligence, but this dude is zero intelligence. This is a script after a script after a script, and randomness and some stuff. Nothing of that sort. Alrighty, have a good one. One up in.